November the 11th, Victory Square, Vancouver, British Columbia. Ham Sui Phao, the saltwater city. Remembrance Day is a time for personal reflection on sacrifice, duty, and honor. Thousands of Canadians came to remember Canada's war dead, and among them, a Chinese-Canadian veteran, a director of the Chinese-Canadian Military Museum, and the Chinese-Canadian National Council Pioneer of the Year. Gim Wong has his own reasons to be here.
It seems that the $500 head tax was imposed only on the Chinese, possibly because of fear against a race that's different from them, and to impose the Exclusion Act of 1923 for a period of 25 years. Left a tremendous gap in the Chinese community that I think the Chinese community would have a better bridge between your generation that came after the war and our generation that was born here.
An optimistic and thankful people, Canadians take this day to strengthen themselves by remembering the horrors and heroism of war. This day is to remember sacrifice, duty, and honor. And for some, it is today to think about freedom and democracy, and to remember the time the Chinese were excluded from Canada, and the time the Chinese were singled out for a head tax, and a time to remember when Chinese did not have the rights of Canadian citizenship, and the Chinese-Canadian veterans who fought for freedom and democracy and came home to fight for the vote. Many seek redress.
The minimum position of the Army Navy Veterans organization is that a formal apology thoroughly outlining the contributions that Chinese did for the railroad and the discrimination and the hardships that were imposed on them with the head tax and the Exclusion Act. And we're not doing it, as you say, for ourselves. We're obviously doing it because mother and fathers all went through all this terrible hardship in those days. But there's a little point that I don't want to see repeated in the history books in Canada.
Amidst the circumstance and ceremony, the roar of airplanes overhead, we remember the Canadian Forces men and women who fell in war and peace. For many Chinese-Canadian war veterans, it is also a day to remember the hardship and sacrifice of the Lo Wah Kyo, the old overseas Chinese, who bore the burden and established the foundation of the present Chinese-Canadian communities. The Government of Canada has never officially apologized or acknowledged the violence done to Chinese-Canadian families by the head tax from 1885 to 1923 and the Chinese exclusion from 1923 to 1947. Remembrance Day, a time to think about sacrifice, duty, and honor in the struggle for freedom and democracy. That is why this November 11th, Chinese-Canadian veterans across Canada place wreaths to commemorate the Gold Mountain adventurers and pioneers. I'm Sid Tan for Working TV.